Hello, my name is Larry. I was born in Weehawken, New Jersey, and we're here at my beautiful Tampa, Florida. Alright, the genre that I play is called vallenato. I also play cumbia, and I also play guaracha. These three rhythms are derivative from South America. It's Colombian folk music. For over 200 years, this type of music has been, played throughout all of Central America and Colombia. The cumbia was kind of brought into the United States by someone called Cumbia Kings, and I'm sure you've heard of that band at some point back in the 80s or 90s. The brother of Selena, who also has Latin descent, and they made it like an American type hip hop cumbia type style, but the original roots of that music is what I play. The instruments that are basic to us is the accordion, the singer, the guacharaca, which is also called the lido, which basically is something you scrape and it keeps time, or the tempo. We have something called a caja, which is a drum, congas, which are drums. We have electric guitars now in my band, which is not the bass of it, but they also have the actual, electric guitar to do nice little figurines inside to make it look popular. And also, there's a bass player. In my case, I use timbales. I use the whole drum set. I use a variety of instruments that make the music sound particularly the way I like it to sound. So I basically give it a new modern twist. Vallenato comes from Valledupar. Valledupar is a city on the outskirts on the coast of Colombia, and this music has been around for over 200 years also. And here recently, one of the big artists that have been known worldwide is called Carlos Vives. Carlos Vives brought it in, made it more of a rock style of vallenato. Our genre is unique in the sense that, number one, the lead instrument is an accordion, a button box. Accordion, players are hard to get a hold of. But even more, in my music, I actually play and I sing at the same time. That makes it very unique in itself. On top of that, the instruments that we use, the basic percussion, is very old-fashioned. I mean, literally the way they used to do it 200 years ago is the way we do it now, just that I've added a lot more instruments. Also, our type of genre has 4 different styles. So we can go anywhere from a very slow, unique style to an intermediate style to a very fast-paced style. So we have basically anything you want to listen to. And another thing that's very unique about vallenato is each song tells you a story. It's not just something that makes a rhyme or something that has a lyric that makes you think. It's something about telling you a story about what we've lived, what we do, what our culture is like. And that's why when we play vallenato, we talk about representing our folklore, because we're actually representing our roots. We talk to you about what we eat, our girlfriends, our ex-wives, our wives, our kids, our dogs, our happiness, our money, our poverty. All of that is, if you listen to it, it's going to go to your heart. So that's what we do with vallenato. So that's something very unique about our music also. So our instruments unite in a variety of ways. Basically, music is the additive, I guess you could say, of silence and noise, right? And noise would be if everything is out of control. So in this case, it's more of the sound. So if all of us make the right sound and the right silence at the perfect moment, in between the 11 musicians on stage, you get perfect music. And the best way that I can explain it is everybody goes in tempo, and whenever everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing at that moment, you feel a wave of energy, is the best way I can explain it on the stage. You feel this movement like you would in a symphony. I don't know if you've ever been in front of 40 or 50 musicians playing in a symphony. That same sensation, that same power that you feel from a group like that, playing in sync in time, is the same thing you're going to feel with us in comparison to a normal group that only has maybe 5 or 6 musicians on stage. The most important rhythms are 4. One is called son, which is the very slow one, very typical. The second one is called paseo, which is a little bit quicker, and it's the popular style of music. So Carlos Vives sings a lot of paseo. The next one is called merengue. Merengue has the same name as they use in Dominican Republic, but it's a little different, but it's also upbeat. And then the last one is called puya. And puya is where we play really quick, really fast on the accordion and on the instruments. So that's what they actually categorize us in, are being able to dominate those four different areas of vallenato. The way that I keep it new is I'm implementing the sounds that we're used to hearing. For example, a distorted electric guitar is what we can remember when we're listening to some kind of rock song. The whole drum set with the kick drums and all that stuff is something that we're used to listening to. And so I try to implement these sounds. The piano, the keyboard, I put in different sounds, different organ sounds, different type of unique, I guess you could say, and modernized sound to make that old-fashioned sound look like something new. It's still the same root, but it sounds a little different. That's all. Okay, I first chose this music because I had been a musician for probably 10 years. And I noticed that, for example, when I played guitar, the guitar is a beautiful instrument. But it seemed like what I was doing at that moment was playing with another guitarist at a very small event. When I did the violin, there were so many of us on stage with an orchestra that I had no power over whether it was going to sound good or bad. It was a team effort, kind of like soccer. But when I first played vallenato, I played it in Colombia, where there was 30,000 people in front of me, and I hit one note and everybody's screaming and throwing water. And so the sensation of having everybody party with what you're doing and celebrate and have a great time is what drew me towards this music. And second, that when I was out in another country, I actually sat for a moment while I was drinking my coffee and listened to what the lyrics said. And the lyrics talked about the time that that you move to another place, that you meet someone new. So the songs that I was listening to was like, wait a second, that's happening to me. So it's kind of interesting like that, and I like the way that that they put the music together.
Okay, cool.
There's so many artists, there's so many types of genre, and I can't even. It's kind of hard to say one particular person. I listen to so much music, so I'm sure that it's just the same thing as asking you. So something like, I'm sure Michael Jackson came at one point in your life. Every different artist, like hip hop, the singers like Whitney Houston back in the day with his incredible voices. Instrument-wise, there was some Eric Clapton, I remember back in the day. Some of the big guys that played piano. I mean, there's so many artists, I don't know exactly which one to go to. But what I can say is that, in the vallenato world, some of the first artists that I saw were singers, more than accordion players. And then I started looking into accordion players. And so there's many. I could just keep on going and going. In vallenato, we have the union between an accordion player and a singer. And each one divide and play with others. So there's a lot that I can mention.
Okay.
Challenges is trying to get the music represented correctly here in the United States, because here it's not just Colombians, here it's Mexicans, here it's Puerto Ricans, here it's Cubans, here it's people that aren't even from there. They were just descent, and they live here and they were born here, so they don't even know exactly what they're looking for. They're just used to what they hear. So trying to pull this music that represents the folk of Latin America and trying to make it a popular thing for everyone to unite and follow has been difficult. To get the word out. So it's been like baby steps, trying to get out. But the good thing is every time someone hears us, they follow us. So I guess that's the difficult part, is getting out. But as we start working, people are starting to have a following, and we're doing well now. I sing about love. I sing about sadness. I sung about happiness, about the first person that a friend of mine met at a restaurant and fell in love with. I sang about the ex-girlfriend that left me for the other guy. I sang about, what else? About the way I made someone fall in love with the way that I played and I sang. I've sang about life, about how life is wonderful, how it's happy, how it's basically everything that you decided you want it to be. About the hardships. So yeah, I've just about anything that happens in life I've sang about. The influence is based on what I'm thinking about, I want to sing, or what message I'm trying to send. So obviously if I'm singing about something like sadness, and for example that she left me, I try to make it a melancholic, like, you know, and like a negative, like, you know, a minor tone, like very slow and unique. Unless I'm happy she left, right? So if I'm happy she left, then I might make it a merengue. And if I'm looking to do something like upbeat and happy about life, then I'll make it something a little bit quicker and a little bit more of a rock style. So it just depends on what I'm trying to get across. What's unique about, or what makes it Colombian, is the way that the accordion is integrated as the main instrument that, you know, leads. No other music, I guess the only thing close to that would be, for example, tango and polka. But obviously the language is different and the swing of the music is different. Both those genres are wonderful music, but it's just a different type of style. Here we sing about dancing and you know, we sing about everything we talked about, and the uniqueness between the instruments. For example, our instrumentation is very typical. We have old-fashioned drums that are actually handmade in Colombia, like the huiro, which we call the huacharaca, is made out of a palm tree. So it's a palm tree that you can only get there, and you have to cut it a certain way in order for it to sound the way it does. And it represents the sound of a bird in Colombia. So that's what keeps the rhythm. The caja is a little drum that's handmade also, that no other instrument gives that particular sound. And so on. So I can keep on going with different. And obviously, the unique thing about vallenato is that there's no real musical structure. So it's not one of those things where you keep repeating the same thing over and over again, which I'm sure you've heard of before. Here is something where you're going at a certain pace or a certain rhythm, and you can change it. Or if you don't change it, you can change the structure, and it's okay. So that's why most musicians that are educated and studied in music don't necessarily understand or can interpret my music, and they have to sit down like little kids and learn again how to play. So vallenato is very typical, as I mentioned before, and it's based off of 4 basic instruments, which is la huacharaca, la caja, the basic drum, the accordion, the singer, and the bass player. But here, you know, recently they've been adding more instruments like conga and timbales. Now, in my case, to give it a unique sound, I've added drum sets, like complete, you know, rock drum sets with kicker drums and all that good stuff. Synthetic sounds on the piano, and here recently I put in winds. So sometimes cumbia uses winds, and they also use winds in tropical Colombian music. So now I've added my own unique wind. For example, I use a saxophone and I use a trombone. So these are different things that I've incorporated. I've also worked with violinists that have been on stage with me, and we give it that unique sound with the violin. So we're starting to integrate a lot of different type of musicians and looking for that unique, great sound that most people are going to consider something good. So something more universal, not limited to the typical folk that we've been representing all this time, which I respect and I represent, and I still do sometimes interpret the music just the way it was, but I like to give it that new twist.